Hey everyone, I'm Ronan and welcome back to another Baldur's Gate 3 video. Today I am making a quick guide on how to make the melee Necromancer, aka the Death Knight. When I made my Necromancer guide, I had a few comments asking to make a melee version for the Death Knight theme, and I actually had a poll when I did premiere the video asking if you did want to see that, and I had 95% people vote yes. So that's what we're here to talk about today, is how you can take the Necromancer theme, having better undead, doing extra damage, more summons and whatnot, while maintaining that melee focus in combat, and that's what we're going to do. So when you think about the Death Knight, obviously we're going to be going 6 points into Wizard to get the better undead. That leaves you 6 levels to put inside other classes. In my opinion, you would want to choose a martial class that can also have spells. That way you'll get to have better spell slots so you can upcast better undead for more ghouls and things like that. So with that being said, you have a few options. Barbarian is out. I don't think they're going to be a good match at all because they don't have any spell slots. Could you make it work? I mean, maybe, but I'm not going to try. So in my opinion, the ones that are going to actually work would be Bard, because you do have a lot of spell slots for Bard, and Bard is a pure caster, so you will get 6 ranked spells if you do Bard, which is pretty cool. And you do get extra attack as bards if you actually subclass in 2 of the 3 subclasses that they have. Obviously Paladin, especially Oathbreaker Paladin works. I mean, thematically it's just there, and in my opinion probably the strongest option. Eldritch Knight is another great option as well, and because fighters in general get an extra feat at level 6, you'll get 3 feats still versus only having 2, and that's a pretty big bonus. I do think you could technically also do this with a Ranger if you wanted, but that's going to be up to you. I don't think Ranger for the theme fits, but hey, it would work at least when it comes to mechanics in game. So for me, I think it's going to come down to Eldritch Knight versus the Oathbreaker Paladin. I do think the Oathbreaker Paladin, because the Divine Smite, is going to be a little stronger, and we'll talk about why when I make the build, but you can obviously do this for anything I just listed as well. But you want to think about, do you want to be dex based? If so, I do think going the Bard version would be a little bit better. However, if you want to be a two-handed like Juggernaut, just doing massive damage like I'm going to be trying to do, then you're going to want to go probably Eldritch Knight or Oathbreaker Paladin. So let's go ahead and break this down. If you do want to see more guides like this that are a little bit quicker, that do overviews, definitely let me know in the comments down below what you want to see next. I'm probably going to be doing an Elemental Archer build or dual building next, but there are plenty more requests that I'm working on, so definitely stay tuned. Alright guys, before we break down how I actually build the character, I do want to state I'm doing the Oathbreaker Paladin version for this because I think thematically it just fits the best. But as I mentioned earlier, any of the martial classes that have some type of casting will work for this as well, so pick what you want. The concept and how to build the character is going to be very similar regardless. When it comes to origin characters, any origin character will work. I think Asterion is especially nice if you plan to make him ascend in Act 3, because then you become really strong, getting 1d10 additional necrotic damage on all your attacks. And of course the Dark Urge is pretty cool, getting the Slayer form. I mean, it's really sick, so keep that in mind. I do want to state for custom characters, I really like half-elves because you can be an elf with a beard if you wanted. I'm a big fan of the Wood Elves in general. Getting the increased movement speed is really nice. Drows are really cool because you'll get darkness for free, you'll get fairy fire based off of charisma, and if you're playing the paladin version, charisma is your casting stat, so that's pretty useful. Githyanki, I mean, even though they're ugly, do have some of the best combat like things you can use in game. Free Misty Step is really big. Really, all the racers are going to work. Even Dragonborn, I think, thematically fit, especially if you choose like the Acid Breath. If you go white, you can get the Frost Breath. I think that fits the like Death Knight theme as well. So really, race, pick whatever you want. Also, shout out to Zariel Tieflings. Being able to have Branding Smite for free and Searing Smite is really powerful as well. I personally am going to be going a half-elf. I just really am a big fan of half-elves in general, like lore-wise, but really pick what you want. When it comes to the subclass, Oath of Devotion is the easiest to break, which is why I'm doing this. I do want to state one thing. If you plan to respec later on, like say you get the Gauntlets of Hill Giant Strength, or you get the neck piece to give you higher constitution, you will have to renew your oath first, and then break it again later on. Really easy to do that, and I'll show how to do that later in the video. But for now, if you plan to just follow my guide without respecking, you won't have to worry about it. So Oath of Devotion is what I'm doing because it's the easiest to break, and you can break it pretty much as soon as you start the game. Background, pick whatever you want here. Really, it's not going to make that much of a difference, but ability scores, you can see this is the ability score I'm going with, and there are going to be a couple of things I do want to point out. Our dexterity is really low. We only have 10 dexterity. So you have two options here. Do you want to use the Elixir of Hill Giant Strength throughout the rest of your playthrough to give you 21 strength every long rest? If so, dump strength and put it in dexterity. I'm not a big fan of doing that. I've done it for a couple of runs and basically just kept resetting long rest to steal the potions from Anti-Ethel early on. Really easy to do, but I don't like doing that consistently, and I know a lot of my viewers don't like that either. So I'm not going to build my character that way. I'm also not using the Hag's Hair. If you use the Hag's Hair, you'll have an extra feat for free. And that's one benefit the Eldritch Knight version has, is the fact that they have a third feat as this, because they get an extra feat at level 6 that you would normally not have as the Paladin version. But you don't need the extra feat regardless. It's just a bonus. So there are some ways to mitigate the low dexterity we'll talk about later on. But if you do want some extra dexterity, you could easily dump Charisma to put it in dexterity if you want. I'm not doing that. And if you do plan to use the Constitution necklace that you get much later on in Act 3, then obviously you can dump all your other stuff and put it in dexterity as well. Skill proficiency wise, I am going with Insight and Persuasion. You can dump Insight if you want, put it in something else like Medicine, Religion, whatever you want. It's going to be up to you. Alright, so let's go ahead and break into how I'm going to level, and then we're going to talk about gear, because gear is going to really make and break the build in Act 3. Early on, not so much. Alright guys, I am in Act 3. I'm going to showcase my character. I just respect so I can show you how to break your oath super easy if you do want to do this as an oath breaker. So all you got to do is come here. I'm right here on the map, very beginning at Rivington. And what you want to do is go ahead and it says attack some of these NPCs here and kill them. So I'm going to attack one of the refugees. I want one that's going to be walking by, so it's going to be easier to hit. So we'll go with this guy here. Attack him. I killed him. Oath is broken. And now I can simply run away. And I'm good to go. Once you do break your oath and you actually talk to the guy to become an oath breaker, your new thing you get is going to be Spiteful Suffering. This is going to be better if you use two-handed weapons with Great Weapon Master, because you will be able to give yourself advantage against the enemy. This does take an action though, which is a little unfortunate. If this was a bonus action, this would be way better, but it does have some niche uses if needed. Alright guys, so at level 2 Paladin, this is when you get to choose your fighting style. For the sake of simplicity, we're going to go levels 1 to 6 in Paladin, and then 1 to 6 in Wizard. However, I will go over some things you can do instead during the level up process. The reason you want to get to at least level 5 for Paladin right away though is to get your extra attack ASAP. And with some gear we'll talk about, you'll be able to raise Undead anyway without the need of the Necromancer stuff right away. So fighting style, you have two options here. Do you want defense for +1 to your AC? Overall, universal regardless of how you play. Dueling is really nice for the sword and board playstyle. If you have a one-hander and a shield, your one-handed attacks will do additional +2 damage. There are some really nice one-handers in this game, especially in Act 3 that we're going to talk about, that are really, really powerful. And in my opinion, it is really, really fun. And you can save your really nice two-handers for other people if you want. But if you do plan to use a two-handed weapon, Great Weapon Fighting obviously is going to be really nice to re-roll bad rolls. One thing to note, if you do two-handed weapons, you will be taking the Great Weapon Master feat later on. It's going to be required for even more burst, meaning you only have one extra feat. If you do go with the dueling instead, you don't need Great Weapon Fighting when it comes to the feat itself. So you'll have another feat you can use for whatever you want. So keep that in mind. For this video, I am going to be going with dueling just for simplicity's sake. However, Great Weapon Fighting is a great choice, and I'll go over gear-wise what you can do for two-handers as well. Prepared spells, pick whatever the hell you want. It's not going to matter. The main spells you're going to be using are going to be Divine Smite anyway, and eventually Raise Dead to get your cool undead minions going. In my opinion, Bless is okay. Command's decent. Pick whatever else you want. It's going to be up to you. So at level 3 Paladin, guys, you get the Divine Health, meaning you are immune to diseases. Dreadful Aspect is really nice as an Oathbreaker. It's like an AoE fear you can put on enemies. This is really nice to help out your allies, like the allied undead, get some extra hits in, as well as when it comes to mummies, they have a unique ability that can only do if the enemy is frightened. So having this is pretty useful. Control Undead will be really useful for Act 2 to have extra undead minions. You also get Hellish Rebuke, so you can, as a reaction, attack the enemy with a spell. And Inflict Wounds is okay. I rarely use this. I only use this if they're going to be resistant to my melee damage, but for the most case, they usually aren't. Paladin level 4, your first feat, and I know what you're thinking, ability improvement, right? Get your strength. No, we're not. So if you had an odd number here, you would go like that, but we don't. What I'm doing instead, if you follow my guide, I'm going to be going Heavy Armor Master, or I'm going to be going for Athlete. Athlete will increase your strength or dexterity +1, give you extra jump distance, really fun stuff. Or, in my opinion, if you want to be a little bit more tanky since your constitution is a little bit lower, Heavy Armor Master is really good. This will give you strength +1 up to 18 strength, and all incoming damage that isn't magical, so all physical damage, is going to be reduced by 3, making you even more tanky. And with the heavy armor that we're going to be wearing already reducing damage by 2 anyway, this stacks, making 5 less damage. So real quick, I do want to showcase, before we talk about the other paladin stuff when it comes to leveling, I have 18 strength here. So there is a potion you get, the Potion of Everlasting Vigor. This will put us up to 20 strength base, which is really nice. And if you go the two-handed version of this, because you only have 1 feat, because you're going to be using Great Weapon Master, and then the feat I just talked about for Heavy Armor Master, this is a great way to get to 20 strength. In Act 2, Araj and Moonrise Towers have Asterian Biter, you get it for free. If you are the Sword and Board version, well, because we're not going to be using Great Weapon Master, we're at 20 strength already, so we're going to have a 3rd feat, and I could get to 22 strength if I wanted to. Alright, Paladin level 5. This is why we wanted to get the level 5 ASAP. You get your extra attack, so that way you can attack twice. Double Divine Smites, you know, it's really powerful. You get some more spells are okay, but the spells I want to talk about are the Oathbreaker ones. Crown of Madness has some niche uses. I don't use it all that often, but Darkness is really powerful. And if you combine this with the Blind Immunity Ring, or a helm you get in Act 3, become immune to darkness, this is really, really strong. I like it a lot. Alright, Paladin level 6, you either want to go Paladin 6 now or start going Necromancer in the Wizard subclass. So at Paladin level 6, you get Aura of Protection. This is based off of your Charisma modifier. Our Charisma right here is 16, so this will give us +3 to all saving throws for us and allies within range. Really powerful, and I'm going to get it now. Okay, so something controversial. So Aura of Hate we're not getting. A lot of people, including myself, until I actually tested this, this doesn't actually affect any of your undead minions. If you read it, it says you and nearby fiends and undead gain additional damage, and it says +3, it's equal to your charisma modifier, dealt with melee weapons. Well, the skeletal archers you summon use ranged weapons. The ghouls, as well as the zombies, their attacks are all considered improvised attacks, like unarmed, so they're not actually weapons, and this doesn't count for them. So unless this is patched, this will not affect any undead. This will only affect 1 minion so far that I found, and that is my Cambion if you summon it using the Infernal Rapier that you get from a quest reward. So we're not going to be getting this. Instead, we're going to be going 6 points into Wizard to just get better undead in general. So now we're going to go into our Wizard here. Cantrip wise, it doesn't matter. You're not going to be using these cantrips for damage whatsoever. So go ahead and pick whatever you want. I do want to give a shout out to Firebolt though, because this is useful to burn things like spider webs and things like that. Mage Hand obviously has uses outside of combat, and if you did want Minor Illusion or something else, it is useful for the sake of the build. Bone Chill, I mean, it fits, but how powerful this is, I don't know. I feel like melee attacks would be better, but it fits the theme, so we'll take it. Spell wise here, we're going to dump a lot of things here, and I'm going to talk about spells. So we are going to be keeping Magic Missiles, even though this is a spell for damage that doesn't really fit the necromancy theme. This is just strong. If you ever fight targets, you have a couple low HP targets, this is a great way to knock them out, and it's a great way to initiate combat from ranged if you ever really need to. So I would say definitely get this. and then get your shield. This is a nice reaction if you want to increase your AC by +5, making you a very, very tanky. I mean, you'll have a lot of ACs this build. Then the other things are going to be ritual spells, so Enhanced Leap, Long Strider, Featherfall, all of those are really, really good. And then your last spell, pick whatever the heck you want. In my opinion, I don't think it's really going to be all that great because most of your spells are for Divine Smite, so pick whatever you want here. Prepared spells, so I'm going with Magic Missiles, and because you are part wizard, you can start learning other spells as well, which is pretty cool. So that means you can learn haste and other cool things like that if you have scrolls for it. Scroll for Misty Step, for example. Really powerful stuff. All right, Wizard level 4. This is when you gain another cantrip. Pick whatever you want. Spell-wise here, go ahead and pick whatever you want. It's not going to make or break anything because you're only going to have so many spells you can use regardless. So then your feat here, this is when if you were using a two-handed weapon, you would go with Great Weapon Master in order to A, have a critical hit or a kill give you a bonus action for an extra attack. Really, really powerful for burst. It gives, and you can toggle it for a -5 modifier to your attack, but you will then gain +10 damage to the damage roll, which is really powerful. So if you're using a two-hander, go Great Weapon Master. This build, however, I'm showcasing it as Sword and Board, so we have a feat we can use for whatever the heck we want. You could go ability improvement here if you did want to get your strength to 20, and with that potion, you would be at 22 strength, which is pretty cool. You could go for something like Alert if you want the extra +5 to your initiative. Also really powerful because having low dexterity kind of sucks, but there are plenty of ways to mitigate that we'll talk about. So it's going to be up to you. If you want more damage, obviously Strength. If you want more AC, Alert. Other things that are also really useful, Savage Attacker is really nice because this will reroll damage. This will reroll damage off your weapon. So if you have any additional enhancements like extra fire damage, extra necrotic damage, force, whatever it is, this will reroll that. This will also reroll damage from Divine Smite. So I'm going Savage Attacker here. And then level 6, this is when you finally get some cool things. So if you didn't already have access to Animate Dead, you get it for free now. Obviously, as a wizard, you can learn it from a scroll regardless, so you can get that as soon as you start multiclassing in the wizard anyway. You have better summons and more summons. Basically, your summons have extra HP, do more damage, and you can summon extra ghouls and everything else. You gain extra spells here as well. Pick whatever you didn't pick before that you think is going to be good for your team. It's going to be up to you. Hold Person could be useful. Fireball, I mean, pick whatever you want. Alright guys, real quick, this video is longer than I anticipated, so I'm going to try to make gear as fast as possible. So for your helm, I'm a big fan of the Helldusk helm in Act 3. Free Darkness is nice to be able to basically see inside darkness because you're immune to blind, so this is really nice. Act 2, you can get the Circle of Bones, giving your allied undead resistance to physical damage, really nice, and you get Animate Dead for free. The Birthright Helm is nice for +2 Charisma, getting you another +1 in your modifier for that. So that's really nice. When it comes to other things, the Grimskull Helm is also pretty useful. You can't be crit and you're resistant to fire damage. Also really useful. Other helms, feel free to mess around with what you like. It's going to be up to you, but those are my recommendations. When it comes to the cape, Cloak Protection, +1 AC and saving throw, really nice. Doesn't really matter, pick what you want. Chest piece, Reaper's Embrace is really great. This will give you a cantrip, Howl of the Dead, that you can use once per rest. This is really nice. You can numb the targets. It looks cool. It's very Death Knight-y theme. You get it at the end of Act 2. You get an ability you can toggle on and off. Right here, if you take a look at my passives, I can toggle this on and off, and I can't be moved by spells or anything like that. Really, really strong. This reduces all incoming damage by 2, and this will stack with the Heavy Armor Master feat we talked about earlier, so it's really strong. In Act 1/2, the Adamantine Splint Armor has a similar effect. It also has Magical Plate, very powerful as well. Obviously, in Act 3, the Helldusk Armor that you get for killing Raphael, one of the best things in the game, period. Really, really strong. Pick what you want here. It's going to be up to you, though. Glove-wise, if you want to add Noxious Fumes to the enemy, so you can see my weapon here just for the showcase, has an additional 1d4 acidic damage and an extra 1 weapon enchant. And that's because I use the Drakethroat glaive. This has a special elemental weapon thing here. And I have a video on this. You can check out my channel that goes into detail about it. But basically, I can add a +1 attack roll bonus to any weapon I want and an element for another 1d4 damage, and it lasts until my next long rest. Really, really strong. So if you want noxious fumes on the enemy, putting acid damage on your weapon with these gloves are really cool, and I'll showcase what that looks like in combat in a minute. But other gloves that are going to be really useful, the Abyss Beckoners are actually way stronger than I initially anticipated. I gotta put the comment on screen now. A viewer commented about this in my Necromancer video. These are way stronger than I originally thought for Death Knight version only. I don't think it's that great for the like ranged caster version, but if you plan to use exclusively ghouls, this is really great. I do find it with the other summons not as great, but with ghouls it's really strong and it's really cool. If you want to help mitigate the low dexterity, obviously gloves of dexterity are really good. You get those in Act 2 with the Mountain Pass. Dark Justiciar gloves for extra necrotic damage, extra fire damage from Flawed Helldusk. And then my personal favorite, the Helldusk gloves in general, really, really strong. Gives you an extra cantrip, extra fire damage, and extra spell save DC. So if you equip these, if you take a look at the weapon I'm using, I have the torch right here. The torch has +1 d4 acidic, +1 d4 necrotic, +1 d4 fire. It has a chance to burn the enemy as well. And if you go to take a look at my attacks, because I have the gloves as well, it also has +1 d6. Savage Attacker, by the way, will reroll all that damage for higher damage, really strong. When it comes to the boots, obviously the Nightwalkers are one of the best boots in the game. You get those in the Grimforge. I'm also a big fan of the Helldust boots. These are also really, really powerful and really strong as well. You get these in Act 3. When it comes to your rings, the only one that's going to be required is going to be the Crypt Lord's ring. If not, you won't be able to have Create Undead as an Oathbreaker version. This is really, really strong, and in my opinion, one of the coolest rings in the game. Check out my Necromancer video. I have a guide to the question for this, as well as the torch as well. And you also get the staff too from that question. When it comes to two-handed weapons, I think the Halberd of Vigilance is really good. This will give you the +1 bonus to initiative rolls and advantage on ability checks. And if you do the trick I talked about with the Drakethroat glaive, you can give this another element and another +1 weapon enchant as well. This is great because the +1 initiative will help out with your low dexterity. And if you combine that with the Hellrider longbow you get in Act 3, which gives you +3 initiative, you'd have +4 initiative overall. So it really helps out the low dexterity for that. The necklace, pick whatever you want. Amulet of Misty Step is nice just for the extra Misty Step. If you plan to use the Amulet of Greater Health, don't forget you do have to renew your oath and break it again. But this is great because this gives you a ton of HP. I go from 88 to 136. And the other ring is Crushers just for the extra movement. All right, let's break down combat. All right, so let's go ahead and get the Noxious Fume on this guy. So I don't want to kill him real quick, so I do want to showcase. So you can see he has Noxious Fumes on him now. So if you take a look at the debuff, it's for 3 turns. And just for 3 turns, hostile creatures in a radius of 10 feet of him will take 1 d4 acid damage. So this is a nice combo with the torch specifically because the torch has a chance to burn as well. So if you have the guy fail the DC for the Noxious Fumes as well as the burn at the same time, you can get periodic damage on the enemy, up to 8 additional damage just by existing, which is pretty cool. And this AoE will affect enemies as well, and it will not affect you from my understanding. One other thing too, the Dance Macabre ghouls that you summon, because they're ghouls and you're summoning them, these are actually all considered undead thralls as well. So they're going to be affected by your increased damage bonus and HP from the subclass level 6 Necromancer with the Wizard as well, which is just pretty cool in my opinion. So we're going to go ahead and enter combat now. I'm going to enter turn-based mode in a second. I'm going to come over here. All right, enter turn-based mode. Bam. I'm going to try to have one of my ghouls open up. I want to try to get this guy paralyzed so I can show you the powerful combo of paralyzation. but I'm pretty sure these guys have high constitution saving throws. I missed anyway. Wow, unfortunate. Alright. Still, I mean, they do decent damage. I mean, 20 damage just from a regular attack's not bad. I'm not going to react to that because I don't need to finish him off right now. And I want to save my reaction for something else. I do want to showcase, though, like, all this damage here, all this would normally be doubled on my minions. And instead, it's reduced. Like, this is really powerful. That's because of the gloves. Alright, so my turn. I'm going to go ahead and use my potion of speed now to get the extra action. So I have a couple of things I can do. A, that guy is in a really bad spot. I don't like him being up so high, so maybe I should have went with the flying ghouls so they could fly up to him. Might have been better than the regular ones. I already used my bonus action, so I can't teleport to him, so I'm going to leave him up there for now. Instead, I'm going to come over here. I'm going to use my Channel Oath here for my Dreadful Aspect. I'm going to try to get these guys frightened so they can't move. So I only got a couple of them, but you can see from being frightened, it gives them a couple of debuffs. A, when you're frightened, you can't move. So against melee characters, it's like a pseudo CC. But they also have disadvantage on ability checks and attack rolls, which is nice to have. And I still have my extra damage I can do, but I'm going to let my ghouls do some work here. This ghoul can't really reach anybody, can he? You know what? He might be able to. Let's jump right here and have him get in my aura and then also be able to attack her. Critical miss. Dang, dude. 60% critical miss. Unfortunate. No big deal. We'll try a few instead. Wow. Am I just getting unlucky right now? Like, holy crap. Alright, well, if that's the case, let's go ahead and just start doing some damage then. So one thing I could do instead of doing damage, if I want to stop him from attacking, I can use my darkness spell and put it right on top of him. So he'll be forced to move out of it because he's not going to be able to shoot out because he's blinded. And I'll just end my turn here. So my Necromancy of Thagul's you can't control, but they will attack hostile creatures. I mean, look at that. Hardly any damage to my minions. So they rolled a 25. I have 24 to hit. So I'm going to use my shield so they miss. And now I got +5 AC for the rest of the turn. Really good stuff. Wow. They really must have really good rolls here. I mean, I am on tactician mode, but still. Alright, so the mummy is here. The mummy has the cool multi-attack ability they can do, but it only works on targets that are basically afraid. So let's move him out, and let's use it. So he did get saved on the mummy rot, which is a cool debuff to have to reduce their HP and they can't heal, but it does some decent damage alone. I mean, look at this. This is so nice. I have so many minions. And this is only with me being a Death Knight. Imagine combining this with another pure Necromancer. Like imagine another Necromancer using a bunch of skeletons to shoot from afar and stuff. It's really insane. So he was forced to jump down because of my darkness spell. But man, I'm not getting anyone to be paralyzed, which is a little unfortunate because I did want to showcase it. Let's see if this guy can hit him and get it. Nope. Claws saved. Okay. How much HP does he have? 16. I might actually be able to knock him out, which I do want to do because I'm going to showcase Devour. This works if they're not prone as well, so if you have ways to knock people prone, this is also really useful. But we'll go ahead and just attack him normally. Alright, so I knocked him out, which is good, because now, if I have a ghoul like this guy that's hurt, he can devour to heal in the next turn. Alright, so I don't need my darkness spell anymore, but I can just leave it there for now. So if I want to move, I could use my Hell Crawler to come over here, jump up, whatever I need to do. I have Misty Step I could do for terrain distance as well, but I think by now you understand how this works. So we're going to go over here and attack this guy here. Let's go with a big level 3 Divine Smite. Almost killed him. We'll hit him again and he will die. And we'll use Divine Smite rank 1. Didn't even need to use it because he died anyway. And you can see he's knocked out, and that's because of the passive I put on. So now I can have another ghoul heal off of him if need be. I'm going to run up here. We'll just attack this guy instead. Critical miss. Ew, really? Alright, so I did some decent damage there at base. Let's go ahead and go with a level 3. And if you take a look at the damage, I do want to showcase again why I like Savage Attacker. You can see like radiant damage. If we take a look at it, the rerolls, look at all the damage that was rerolled from 2 to 6. All that stuff. Like it's really good to have that. Wow. There we go. Finally got one paralyzed, guys. Jeez. They were rolling pretty high on that stuff, which is good because on my turn, I'm going to showcase why I like paralyzation because of the combos you can do for really big burst. And I think they did end up taking out one of my guys, which is a little unfortunate, but that's okay. All right, Mummy, go ahead and just attack him. You missed, man. That's the only downfall of the undead. Their hit rate isn't the best, but you have so many of them, it's pretty nice still. Alright, she's paralyzed. Give me my turn, because I want to get the 100% crit and just knock her flat. Though she might die before I have a chance to. Alright, here we go. So you can see she's paralyzed. Paralyzed. 1 turn remaining. If you take a look, attacks against the entity always crit if I'm within 10 feet, which is really, really cool. So we'll use Misty Step just to get right next to her. And now we are going to crit her and hit really hard. So you can see I have a 100% chance to hit as well, which is really nice. I don't even need to use this because I'll crit regardless. And I didn't even use the Divine Smite because the crits just killed her anyway. If I would have had Divine Smite, I mean, imagine a rank 4 Divine Smite doing some big time damage and critting at the same time. She would be toast. But that's basically how you play the build, guys. I mean, I could find other things to fight, but I think by now with this video, you understand how the combat works. And the video is already as long enough as it is now. But this is the build. This is what I like doing. When I go to use archers and regular zombies, though, I will not be using the gloves. Instead, I would use something else for extra melee damage. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed this video, like and subscribe. Let me know what you want to see next. I'm probably going to be doing the elemental archer next, but I'm not sure. I'll see y'all in the next one. Take care.